All right, so moving on to the next segment, I'll be sharing the latest boxing news that is taking place right now, currently in the sport of boxing. So I have 4 headlines for you guys to cover in this segment. Starting off with the first headline, as a fight announced that will be happening in winter time of 2025, January 2025. In the super welterweight division, Errol Spence and Sebastian Fundora have agreed to a deal. That fight will be happening next at the 154-pound division in the sport of boxing. Now, I thought it was actually interesting thing that the WBO actually ordered for Sebastian Fundora to put his WBO title on the line against Terence Crawford, which would have ended up being a unified title fight at 154, with 3 titles being on the line. Sebastian Fundora defending his WBC and WBO titles, and Terence Crawford defending his newly won WBA title. But there was a deal that was done that Terence Crawford stepped to the side and has allowed Sebastian Fundora and Errol Spence to fight each other. So I honestly think that Terence Crawford stepped aside because he knows that he's not getting that big money fight against Canelo Alvarez most likely. And he basically stepped to the side to basically bank on Errol Spence beating Sebastian Fundora to get one more big payday if he fights Errol Spence in a rematch at 154 for a unified championship fight at that division. But going to Sebastian Fundora versus Errol Spence, I think that's a 50-50 fight. I think that's a huge way to start off 2025 for the PBC. That fight happening in January. But that's a big test and a big obstacle for Errol Spence to get over at 154, debuting at this division, fighting Sebastian Fundora, who is a unified champion, holds the WBC, WBO titles. He just defeated Tim Tszyu earlier this year. That is not going to be easy for Errol Spence to do what he normally does comfortably in the sport of boxing. Because we all know Errol Spence's style. He likes to dig down deep to the body. But how are you going to do that against a 6'6" giant in Sebastian Fundora? Sebastian Fundora is also a southpaw that has an over right hand that Errol Spence has had problems with in the past when he fought Ugas and Terence Crawford. A southpaw. Sebastian Fundora is a southpaw, somebody that Errol Spence just struggled against and got dominated by, and Terence Crawford, who also is a southpaw. So that's a huge 50-50 fight. I'm not counting out Errol Spence by any means, but that ain't going to be an easy fight for him to come back from after a year and some change of layoff, and you got dismantled and dominated, basically shut out all the rounds against Terence Crawford. That is a huge test for Errol Spence in his return to the sport of boxing. Respect to him because he doesn't believe in tune-ups. But man, whew, that's a huge fight for you to come back to, especially debuting at a new division. Now, next thing I'll cover is another fight announcement with the PBC as well. David Morrell versus David Benavidez will be happening also in January 2025 for the PBC. They're going to have 2 big events to start off the gates for 2025. Now, this is a big light heavyweight fight between David Benavidez and David Morrell. And this is why I love me some David Benavidez. He's growing on me and becoming one of my favorite boxers in the sport of boxing because he's living up to his nickname, the Mexican Monster. David Benavidez is realistically turning into a throwback fighter, wanting to fight the best of the best under any means, under any circumstances. He never wants to duck the smoke, unlike his other guy, Canelo Alvarez, who's been ducking him for years and years. But as I digress, David Benavidez has showed that he is comfortable fighting top guys. I mean, look at his resume. He's fought David Morrell, he's fought Caleb Plant, Demetrius Andre, Golfskit at his debut at 175 this summer, and now he's going to fight David Morrell. He's defeated all those guys other than David Morrell. They'll fight each other for the first time in January. But David Morrell is already one hell of a fighter this early in his boxing career. They call him the Phenom for a reason. That's going to be one hell of a fight, a 50-50 fight between David Benavidez and David Morrell. The winner of that fight could really put themselves in position to fight either Arthur Beterbiev or Dimitri Bivol at some point in 2025 for an undisputed light heavyweight title fight, banking on Arthur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol to have a rematch at some point in 2025. Bottom line is the winner of this fight could find themselves in a championship fight in 2025. So that has huge ramifications for the future of this light heavyweight division. But I think that's going to be one hell of a fight because you have David Benavidez fighting style, his power, his quickness going up against David Morrell's speed, power, quickness. That is, and his reach is what makes David Morrell a good fighter as well. that is a banging way to start off for 2025 for the PBC, having Earl Spence versus Sebastian Fundora and David Abidez and David Morrell on two separate cards, two pay-per-view cards to start off the year. Whew, they're going to be firing all cylinders for that one. Now, next boxing news I'll get into is the ongoing saga with Teofimo Lopez and ESPN Top Rank Boxing. So right now, it's a messy situation for Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez is actually claiming that his contract with Top Rank has actually expired, and he's claiming to be a free agent right now. However, he did sign an extension with Top Rank Boxing Promotions with Bob Arum and Company when he defeated Sandor Martin late in 2022. So this is a messy situation because Teofimo Lopez is right now, in my opinion, a top 10 pound-for-pound boxing star right now in the sport of boxing. And he's realistically on the shelf due to financial reasons. However, when Teofimo Lopez defeated Josh Taylor for the WBO title at the super lightweight division in summer 2023, he did not, and claimed that he retired. He did not fight for the rest of the year, and that made Top Rank and Bob Arum add more time onto his Top Rank contract. Teofimo Lopez was actually scheduled to fight last month on a Top Rank card. He's scheduled to fight. I don't know who the opponent was supposed to be, but he was supposed to fight in New York City, and he declined fighting. So that even added more time onto Teofimo Lopez's contract with his time with Top Rank. So this situation could get really messy, and Teofimo Lopez could be on the sidelines for a good amount of time. And that sucks because he's in the prime of his career, two-division world champion. That you don't want to do that. And when you're on the sidelines for financial reasons and not because of medical reasons, that hurts you in your prime years. So hopefully Teofimo Lopez and Top Rank can get this under control. But I will say that maybe that's the reason why he's trying to bark at Gervonta Davis and Terrence Crawford right now, trying to beg them for a fight for a big payday, because Teofimo Lopez believes he could be a bigger star and a bigger attraction, because he even said on a podcast that he has not made a total of $1 million in one fight. His lowest pay, he has not been paid at least $1 million for one payday in the sport of boxing. So hopefully both sides have actually said that Teofimo Lopez and Top Rank have been working out a deal. They're trying to get something under control. But this could be a tricky situation where Teofimo Lopez might have to buy himself out of the Top Rank deal. And we've seen Floyd Mayweather do this several years ago on his way to becoming Money Mayweather and becoming the biggest box office attraction in boxing history. But he had to pay Bob Arum $750,000 to get out of his ESPN Top Rank contract in the past. So we've seen stars have problems with Bob Arum in the past being on contract. We'll see if Teofimo Lopez is going to have to buy his way out of his contract deal. But the last thing I'll cover in this segment is Vasily Lomachenko contemplating retirement. Reports have came out that Gervonta Davis and Vasily Lomachenko were actually in deep talks and deep negotiations to fight for a unified lightweight championship fight, with Gervonta Davis defending the WBA title and Vasily Lomachenko defending his IBF title. But those negotiations fell through because Lomachenko was contemplating retirement and did not want to fight for the remainder of 2024. So that's the reason why Gervonta Davis is not fighting someone like Vasily Lomachenko and finds himself fighting Lamont Roach instead to close out the year. But I will say this: if this is the end for Vasily Lomachenko, it's been one hell of a career. He is a 3-division world champion. He had the speed, the boxing skills, the IQ, fighting in different angles. Prime Vasily Lomachenko was one hell of a fighter. And I don't think if he wants to hang it up, fine. But I do believe that Vasily Lomachenko, if he still wants to continue, could be a threat at the lightweight division. Absolutely, he can be a threat at this lightweight division. And I still see him as a top 3 star in this division. So I think he still has a lot of gas left in the tank, but maybe he wanted to retire as a world champion. Maybe his father talked him into, hey, you could beat George Kambosos for the IBF title, take a payday in Australia, take the title for him and retire as a world champion. I'm not sure, but Vasily Lomachenko, I don't want you to retire because you do owe us that fight against Gervonta Davis. Now, I understand we should have got that years ago. Gervonta Davis was a part of that protection program with Floyd Mayweather, and that was the reason why we didn't get that fight earlier when we should have. But hell, the time is now to make that a unified lightweight championship fight in 2025 between Gervonta Davis and Vasily Lomachenko. If you want to go out with a bang, Vasily Lomachenko can easily get his biggest payday of his career fighting and possibly defeat Gervonta Davis. So I don't see why we can't get that fight in 2025. But if that is it for Vasily Lomachenko, it's been one hell of a career. And definitely something to be proud of for him. Being the fastest, in my opinion, probably the fastest rising star and the fastest 3-division world champion in boxing history. But those are my thoughts on the biggest headlines currently right now in the sport of boxing.